Later, I'm sitting down on my couch. I'm watching television. This commercial ad comes on, and they start showing a recap of the Derek Redmond race. And I'm watching. I'm like, I remember that. I remember Derek Redmond. I remember his father helping him. And the emotions are starting to come back up for me. And then out of nowhere, in the middle of the commercial ad, I hear a voice. Almost like the voice of God. But it's not God. It's Morgan Freeman. And here's what he said. Visa, the proud sponsor of the Olympic Games. And I'm thinking to myself, what in the world does Visa have to do with Derek Redmond's story? And then I realized that there's a very powerful lesson for all of us. You see, Visa realized that they had a short amount of time to be able to connect with their prospects. They realized that they had a short amount of time to be able to create an emotional connection. They realized that they had a short amount of time to pique the curiosity of those who did not know about Visa. They realized that they had a short amount of time to get someone to say, hey, what is Visa? And sure, they could have used that time to describe the Visa card. I mean, they could have said, it's plastic. It's got a black strip on the back. It's got raised letters. It comes in all these different colors. You can get your favorite college team on there. They could have listed all the different stores that Visa's accepted in. They could have talked about all the credit limits. They could have talked about all the countries that you can actually use the Visa card in. But they realized that way more effective than giving people a whole bunch of information is to simply find a way to tie their product to a powerful story. And so what if, Team National, the next time you had an opportunity to speak to a prospect, what if the next time you had an opportunity to talk to them about this amazing opportunity, the next time you had an opportunity to talk to them about the savings, what if instead of fire hosing them, some of you act like you don't know what fire hosing is. Let me explain. Fire hosing is when you meet somebody and you notice that they have a thirst. Like they could benefit from the savings. They could benefit from the opportunity. And all you have to do is hand them a cup of water to quench the thirst. But you're so fired up and jacked up about the Team National opportunity. You say, you're thirsty? You need an opportunity? Hold on. Wait 1 second. You run back over here to the fire hose. You get the hose and you start dragging the hose back over to him. And you say, hey, hold on to this hose. Point it right at your mouth. I'll be right back. And then you get over here and you start cranking out information. And you say, you mean to tell me you've never heard of Team National? It's this amazing opportunity. You could save money. Hey, do you have a cell phone bill? You can save money on that. Do you have a car? You can save money on that. Have you ever shopped at Walmart, Target, or Home Depot? You can save money on that. Hey, we got 2 types of memberships. One is $7.95. You know what? You look like a lifetimer. How about $21.95 for you? And then you start telling them all this kind of information. And then you say, hey, but don't worry. You can pass it on to your kids. And you're like, whoa. What if you just handed them a glass of water? What if you just shared a story with them? What if you took the time to do that? And so the reason why I'm here with you today, Team National, is to talk about how you can leverage stories to be able to grow your Team National business. How you can use stories to be able to have more influence and more impact. How you can have a simple 3-step process to help you to be able to share this opportunity. Now, I've got a lot to share with you in a relatively short amount of time. Now, here's what I heard. This is just what I heard. It might be a rumor, but I heard that there is nothing like a Team National convention. That's just what I heard. Oh, okay. I heard that there's nothing like a Team National audience. That's just what I heard. Oh, okay. So I got to test this out. And so I got a lot to share with you. And so I'm going to be checking in with you just to make sure that you're following along. And once I check in with you, this is what it's going to sound like. I'm going to share information with you and I'm going to say, hey, does that make sense? Yes or yes. And I'm going to say, hey, are you following along with me? Yes or yes. Now you're going to notice I don't give you very many options. It either makes sense or it makes sense. You're either following along or you're following along. It's just like when you present this opportunity to somebody. They either want to save money or they want to save money. They either want to make money or they want to make money. There's really nothing in between. And so when I ask you that, I want you to put your hands up high and you're going to hit me with a high energy, yes, yes. And so I just want to make sure I'm in the right place. So I'm going to start off by asking you 2 questions. And at the end of the questions, you're going to put your hands up high and you're going to say, yes, yes, not yes, 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 yes. Okay? So that way I know I'm in the right place. And so my first question for you is this. Are you excited about being at the Reignite conference? Are you ready to take your business to an entirely different level? Are you going to work this business in ways that you never have before? And are you committed to changing the legacy of your last name? Yes or yes? Yeah, I've got one more question for you. Is this your time to take your business to an entirely different level? Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Will you be part of the 1,000 to hit platinum, double platinum, and will you eventually hold the Eagle Award? Yes or yes? That's what I'm talking about. Now I know I'm in the building, baby. So I know for many of you, this is your first opportunity to hear from me. And so I just want to share with you a little bit about my story. You see, my parents are originally from the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. They came here from Haiti. And one of the things that my parents emphasized, they said, Andy, the key to success is to go to school, get a good education, and get a good job. You see, no one told my parents about Team National. They didn't know that there are some other ways to have success. And so I followed the script. I went to school at Florida State University. I got my undergraduate's degree in accounting. I actually graduated summa cum laude. That's a fancy way of saying I spent way too much time studying when I should have been hanging out. I got my master's degree in corporate accounting. While I was in the master's program, I studied like crazy to pass the CPA exam. I took the CPA exam. I passed it. And then I landed a job with one of the largest professional service firms in the world, a company by the name of PricewaterhouseCoopers. But can I tell you something? After about 3.5 years of working there, I realized that my life was starting to follow the same basic routine. You see, I was waking up every single day to the sound of an alarm clock. I was jumping out of my bed, getting in my car, fighting traffic to get to a place in which I knew that something inside of me was saying there's got to be more than this. And I just want to make sure I'm in the right room. Has anybody ever been in that place where you found yourself saying there has got to be more than this? If you've ever been there, say yes, yes. Yes. And so for about 1.5 years, I thought about taking a chance on myself. For 1.5 years, I thought about becoming an entrepreneur. For 1.5 years, I thought about developing this voice that you're hearing right now. And here's what I would do. I would talk myself into it and then talk myself right back out of it. You see, I say, come on, Andy, you could do it. You can become a professional speaker. You can become a successful entrepreneur. You can make things happen. And then that other little voice say, but you did spend a lot of time getting your undergraduate's degree. You did spend a whole lot of time studying for that CPA exam. And your mom is always bragging about her son who's a CPA. What are you going to tell your mom, man? And then so finally, though, December of 2004 became my defining moment. You guys ever heard of a guy by the name of Kevin Costner? Well, in one of his movies called Tin Cup, he has a line that I love. Here's what he said. He said, when the defining moment comes, either you define the moment or the moment defines you. Either you define the moment, you decide that you're going to do what you've got to do to grow your Team National business. That you're going to not concern yourself with the naysayers. That you're not going to concern yourself with what has happened or what hasn't happened, but you're going to make the commitment to grow this business so that you can have a lifestyle that you've never experienced before. Or the moment defines you, and you decide to play it safe. And 20 years from now, you say to yourself, what if I would have taken a chance on myself? What if I would have stayed in the game? What if I would have kept making the phone calls? What if, and what if? And so for me, December of 2004 became my defining moment because that's when I finally built up the courage to go into the office of Tammy Klein, who was the head of HR, and I turned in my letter of resignation. But let me tell you something. Something amazing begins to happen when you make the decision to move forward on your goals and your dreams. Something happens where opportunities begin to open up. And so I had a friend of mine by the name of Erica. We went to college together. And Erica called me up and she said, Andy, I want you to take a look at a business opportunity. It happened to be in this industry. And Erica kept calling me week after week after week. And every single week, I gave her excuse after excuse after excuse. I know that's never happened to anybody in this room. And so finally, I ran out of excuses. Can I tell you something, Team National? The people you've been calling us, giving you excuses, keep calling them. They will run out of excuses. And I said, okay, Erica, okay, I'll go and look at the opportunity. Now, when I hung up the phone, what Erica didn't know is I had already made up my mind that I was going to say no to the opportunity. I was just going to go take a look. I know that's happened to nobody in this room. And so I sat in the very back with my arms crossed. I said, let me see how fast I could get out of here. And as I was sitting in the back, some of the leaders came on the stage and they started sharing their stories. And as they were sharing their stories, I started getting goosebumps. As they were sharing their stories, it started resonating with me. I went from the back of the room to the front of the room. Next thing you know, I said yes to the opportunity. As soon as I got involved in the opportunity, they said, hey, first thing you got to do is you got to make it out to a convention just like this. They say at the convention, it is at the time that you're going to see this opportunity at a completely different level. It's at the convention that you begin to hear from the leaders. It's at the convention that it gets in your blood. And so I went to a convention, and while I was there, the leaders started coming on the stage. They started sharing their stories. And I was hearing them, and they were touching me. And I was sitting there and I said to myself, that's what I want to do. I want to be the guy on the stage. I want to be able to talk to people and inspire them and impact their lives. Can I tell you something, Team National? This industry changed my life. This is the best industry on the planet. This industry is the only reason why I've had the opportunity to work with clients like Office Depot, Accenture, Pratt & Whitney, with NASA, and an amazing company by the name of Team National. Ever heard of them? This company is the reason why, and this industry is the reason why I've had the opportunity to be in the Huffington Post, in Black Enterprise, and on national television. But can I tell you something? I don't share that with you to impress you, but to impress upon you that the guy on the stage is a recovering accountant, a former CPA, a number cruncher, all right? If a number cruncher can learn how to tell stories to be able to grow a business, then what do you think you're going to be able to do with your story? All right. And so here's what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to be sharing with you why stories are so important to your business, how to leverage stories so that you can have more influence, and then ultimately 3-step process so that you can build your own Team National story. And so if you're ready, say yes, yes. Fantastic. And so here's what I want you to understand. Before you're able to influence anyone, it doesn't matter if it's a relative, someone you're connected to, there are 3 questions that you have to be able to answer. Now, here's what I got to let you know. No one's going to come out directly and ask you these questions. These are unspoken. It is just expected that you can answer these 3 questions. The first question that they're going to ask of you is, who are you? Everybody say that with me. Who are you? That's the first question that they're asking. Understand this. Who you are is not your website. Who you are is not your logo. Who you are is not your title. Who you are is your story. It's the thing that is unique to you. It's the thing that allows you to create a connection. It's your story that gives the prospect an opportunity to be able to connect and actually relate to you. And that's why it's so important that when you are talking to a new prospect, that you have them hear from your upline and hear the actual stories, because the stories actually create connection. The second question that they're asking, and you've got to be able to answer this is what they're asking. They're asking, what do you have? What do you have? Now, here's what I know. If we were to pass this microphone around right now and ask you all what you have, so many of you are ready right now with your fire hose. You like, yo, come on, I could tell you what I got over here. You got your fire hose ready. You say, you kidding me? You want to know what we have? We take advantage of group buying power. We've got this awesome membership savings, baby. You got a cell phone? You can save money on that. You got car insurance? You can save money on that. We are ready to tell people what we have. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you letting them see the road to freedom, the actual videos. All that is important. That is part of the process. The only thing is we got to remember to answer the first question. So here's what we got to do. And I want everybody to do this with me. We have to flip the order. Do this with me, everybody, from your seats. Ready? You have to flip the order. Everybody do it with me one more time. You have to flip the order. And so first you have to start off by answering the question first of who are you? You have to allow them to hear the story first. And then you can talk about what it is that you have. And then the third question that they're asking is this: why should I care? I mean, I love the fact that you're fired up about Team National, right? But they still want to know, listen, I don't care if it's your mom, your best friend, your brother, your cousin, or your aunt. The number one person on their mind is not you. The number one person on their mind is themselves. And guess what? They're all tuned in to the exact same radio station, WIIFM. You guys know what that stands for? What's in it for me? Everybody say that with me. What's in it for me, baby? Everybody say that with me. What's in it for me, baby? That's what they're asking. They want to know what's in it for them. And so we want to be thinking in advance. How do we share the story so that they can know that we answer the question of who are you? How do we share the story around the savings and around the income that we're generating to be able to answer the question of what do we have and why should I care? And so those stories is what drives the business. Those stories is what ultimately allows you to have influence like you wouldn't believe. Now, here's what I believe. I believe that success leaves clues. Everybody say that with me. Success leaves clues. And so if you want to have success in your Team National business, what you should do is find people having success. Look at the platinums. Look at the double platinums. Look at what they're doing. And if you do what they do, then you will also have success. And so I'm a firm believer that no matter what industry that you're in, you should also study and see what people are doing who are successful. And so I want to share a story with you. This gentleman on the screen, his name is Blake. Blake is the founder and the CEO of a company by the name of Tom's Shoes. And so Blake decided to start his company on a shoestring budget. Blake ran an ad on Craigslist, and he got 2 non-paid interns. He threw up a website. He had some shoes available for sale, and he thought, if you build it, they will come. How many of you have learned the hard way? Just because you signed up for your Team National business did not necessarily mean that people were going to come knocking down your door. How many of you had to discover that the hard way? Yes or yes? And so Blake discovered, hey, I got to go out there and go talk to some people just like you do. And so Blake decided to catch a flight from California to New York. Now, when Blake gets to New York, he sets up 5 different meetings with different store buyers. And he has meeting after meeting after meeting. And he hears no after no after no. How many of you know in the process of building your business that you're going to hear some no's? But that's okay because every no gets you closer to your yes. Yes or yes? And so Blake is now in New York. He's feeling a little defeated. And so he's like, oh, man. And so he says, well, I'm just going to fly back to California. And so Blake is walking through the airport in New York. And as he's walking, he spots a lady with a pair of red Tom shoes. Now, he's super excited because this is his first time seeing somebody with a pair of Tom shoes who wasn't his cousin, his brother, or his non-paid interns. Like, this is the first time that you brought someone into the business that was outside of your warm market. And so Blake now tries to play cool, doesn't tell the lady who he is, and he goes, those are some pretty cool shoes. And he thinks that's going to be the end of the conversation. And so he walks up to the kiosk. As he's standing at the kiosk, the lady taps him on the shoulder. He goes, yeah, excuse me. She goes, you don't know what these shoes are? He goes, no. She said, are you kidding me? She said, there's this guy named Blake. He was on the show called The Amazing Race. You ever heard of it? Well, he didn't win the show, but afterwards he started traveling all around the world. One of the places that he went to was to learn how to play polo in Argentina. And while he was over there, he noticed that the polo players were wearing these really cool, trendy shoes. And so he was inspired to start a shoe company. Well, during the same trip, he went into a remote village and participated in a shoe drop where little children didn't have shoes on their feet. They had sores and blisters and infections, and they were putting shoes on the feet of the children, and that touched his heart. And so he decided to actually connect his business to a powerful cause. And she said, would you believe that when I bought these shoes, they actually gave a pair of shoes away in a third world country? And so Blake's thinking like, whoa, this lady knows like the whole story. And so Blake looks over at the lady, very proud, and goes, actually, I'm Blake, the founder of Tom's Shoes. She puts her arm on her hip. She looks over. She goes, dude, why'd you cut your hair? You were so much cuter with your hair longer. right? And so they exchange a laugh, and then Blake gets back in the plane. And so now here he is, he's sitting in the plane, and he has an aha moment. He says, wait a second here. We've been doing this all wrong. We've been telling people about the shoes. We've been telling them about the different styles and all the information, but we haven't been telling them the story. He said, we got to change some things around. He said, put the story on the website. Make sure everybody knows about these shoes. He said, don't just make sure they know about the shoes, but let's make sure that every single client, call up some of the magazines. They weren't interested before. Let's tell them the story. They called up the magazines. They said, hey, you never told us that story. We like it. The magazines started publishing and talking about the shoes. Some celebrities started wearing the shoes. They started influencing other people to wear the shoes. Oprah Winfrey found out about the shoes. You get a shoe. You get a shoe. Everybody gets a shoe. No, Angela is not passing out shoes to everybody, right? Okay. But I just want to let you know, right? And the rest, as they say, is history. Today, Tom Shoes does over $450 million. But even more importantly, the beautiful thing is they've given away millions upon millions of shoes to children in third world countries. And if you were to read Blake's book, Start Something That Matters, or if you were to watch any of his interviews, what you would find is that he said that the thing that changed everything for him was when they began to share the story, when they began to lead with the story. And so if you were to see Blake right now, what he actually does is he answers those three questions through the form of a story. Remember those three questions you wrote down earlier? The first question of who are you? Now when they say, hey, who are you? You say, hey, I'm just a regular guy. I love adventure. I went on this show called The Amazing Race. You may have heard of it. I didn't win, but afterwards I started traveling around the world. I went to Argentina to learn how to play polo. While I was learning how to play polo, I saw these cool, trendy shoes, and I decided to start a shoe company. Well, what do you have? I've got these cool, trendy shoes, different shapes, different sizes. You could probably find one to fit your personality type. Well, Blake, there's a lot of shoe companies. Why should I care? Well, the reason why you should care is because we're not a regular shoe company. Every single time you buy a pair of shoes, we actually give a pair of shoes away to a third world country. And so he found out how to answer those three questions. Team National, what would happen in your business if you developed a team of people who knew how to answer those three questions? Who answered the question of who are you by using their personal stories and making sure that everybody hears the stories of their upline. If they were actually answering the question of what do you have and why should I care by sharing the stories about the savings and sharing the story about the income that they were actually generating, things would entirely change. And so I want you to do this right now. Give somebody a high five and say, I hope you're getting this. I hope you're getting this.